Hey guys, Melanie here. I just thought I would check in with you guys with the very first video. I know this has been a little bit of a crazy semester for all of us with all the events that have transpired, and this is the first time I've been able to do this, but perfect time to start when we're talking about systems theory. I noticed in grading discussions yesterday that there's still a lot of questions about the Carter book, the reading on social systems theory, so I thought I'd do a quick video and facilitate some of that discussion, and it might clear up some issues you guys have been having and questions you have about systems theory. When we discuss systems theory, like as they mentioned in chapter 1, social systems theory is actually a subset of general systems theory, which was derived in the natural sciences. In biology, physics, those disciplines originated the concept that many systems work together, and it has since been adapted into the social sciences. Social sciences look at it a little bit differently, but we all take a holistic approach, meaning that we understand that many systems work together in a whole. This is one way I describe the differences between some of the disciplines, so this might be helpful to you. In sociology, they look at things more from a macro focus, as they mentioned in the book. Sociologists believe that the overall society or culture affects more of down to the individual. Now, psychology believes kind of in the reverse, that the individual, the psychological aspects affect the environment and things of that nature. Then in social work, we believe there's a mix. We believe all three interact, and all three are very important. At Concord, we subscribe to the biopsychosocial systems theory, meaning that your biology, your body, your systems like your circulatory system, your cardiovascular system, interacts with your psychological system, your id, your ego, your superego, those kind of things, and also is affected by your social systems, your work, your school family, like here, your church, your actual family. Those social systems have an effect on you as well, and they all interact together. But overall, systems theory helps us just understand human behavior and the way that we all interact with our environment and ourselves. And you'll have to apologize, my cat is being needy at the moment. But a lot of the content of the book very specifically addresses those interactions between the person and the environment. And they discuss, you hear terms like focal system, which is the system that you're focusing on at that current time. The supra system, which is a larger system, usually more of like a cultural system, society, those kind of things. Or a subsystem, which is usually a smaller unit of that, which may be a church, a family, those kind of things. And it goes from large systems, like in that example, or smaller systems, like the cells that make up our body are a system of the system that they are contained in. Our blood cells are a subsystem of our circulatory system. So it goes in both ways. It affects large entities and also our smaller system. So it's all about in the book they mentioned the exchange of energy. These systems all contain energy, and the exchange of energy is where things become a little bit more interesting, and that's where we have to try to have more understanding as therapists, when we're working with clients. A lot of times you have someone that has experienced a trauma, that affects their energy. How they are dealing with that trauma could affect the amount of energy that they use. In systems theory, we say every individual has a finite amount of energy. Meaning, say, for example, a person has 100% energy, okay? Well, if they experience a trauma, they may spend 30% of that energy trying to deal with the effects of that trauma. So therefore, 30% of their energy is being used towards this, new issue, and the 30% has to come from somewhere. So another part of their system suffers. It's all about the interactions with the system. For example, if you walk down the hall and a coworker or a friend says, "Man, you look really tired. Are you getting sick? You look really just worn out. Are you getting any sleep?" And you say, "No, I'm fine. I feel okay." And then later that day, it may happen again. "Well, you look really tired. Are you doing all right?" After a while, your mind starts turning a little bit, and you think, well, maybe I am a little tired. Or do you think I'm getting a cold? That social system has interacted with your psychological system, and therefore it has caused a shift. You see this a lot in, like, when you have clients that have self-fulfilling prophecies. Clients that have been told many times that they cannot achieve, they cannot do this, they're too dumb, things like that. Well, eventually they subscribe to that line of thinking. Same kind of thing, the energy changes. The ultimate goal, as I mentioned in chapter 2, is a steady state. That terminology came from the natural sciences. When you think about a chemical, you don't want it to be unstable, you want it to be in a steady state. Well, it's the same way with energy in our systems. In individuals, we want their energy to be in a steady state. But that's not always the case, especially when we see them for a therapeutic situation. Most of the time, those individuals are in some type of chaos. Now, a couple terms I wanted to mention was entropy. That is a term that addresses the portion of energy that you have. Say it's 100%. But due to whatever experiences or whatever they have going on in their lives, 10% of that 100 may not be available for use. Maybe because of previous traumas, they've kind of shut down. They're trying not to process that portion. We see that a lot with kids. They kind of shut down on the topic. So part of that energy is completely lost because it's not available for use. Okay. Now, when we talk about synergy, that's when things work together to create more than the existing energy. So, like, for example, if in your life you are learning about something here in the MSW program here at Concord that applies directly to your practice with a certain client, then you have synergy because you're basically killing two birds with one stone. So that creates a synergistic environment. So you're actually getting more out of it than the 100%. So that's where synergy comes in. That's kind of become a layman's term, and it means the exact same thing in relation to energy. Okay, and we talk about the 4 functions of energy. Basically how energy comes in, interacts with us, from the outside or internally. That hallway example is a prime example of that. Things that we can create by our own thinking sometimes creates anxiety for us, or sometimes it's an external factor that creates a change in energy. And the other part was goal-oriented things, goal attainment. So those same concepts still kind of apply. And I know some folks indicated that they had some questions about causation and feedback loops. Main thing to remember is that these theories and things basically address the fact that changes in energy are not in a direct line. One interaction does not affect one thing specifically. Having a conversation or an event happen may affect multiple systems in multiple different ways that creates multiple different responses that may in turn affect back to the original response. So it creates that feedback loop. So we're just saying that, like when you're working with a client and they have had been sexually abused as a child, that there's no clear way that has affected them. It may have affected them in many different ways throughout their life and will continue to affect them in many different ways. So there's no clear black and white answer for this on how a client will respond to a change in energy, or how we will respond to a change in energy. It is dependent on the individual person, because we all know that we have all had very different experiences. Our energy makeups are different. We have had different environmental experiences growing up and as adults. So all those things interact differently. So main takeaway is you understand that systems interact, and that is a consideration we must take as practitioners. Now, as you move through your program, if those of you that are BSW level social workers have dealt a lot with individuals in dealing with their environment, now we're going to have the bigger role in dealing with their psychological issues, through therapeutic interventions and things of that nature. So there's a big shift in your thinking here a little bit, as far as more client-centered thinking toward their psychological interactions as well as environmental interactions, and also their biological interactions. So I hope this provided a little bit more information for you guys. I hope it helped. I have created, I don't think anyone's posted on it yet, but I did a systems theory general discussion post. So I'm going to post that below this video. So if you guys have questions after taking a look at this video, please let me know. I'll be happy to do another video or talk with you individually if you have specific questions. I know the Carter book got a little specific. Now, I love the Carter book, but when I was in your shoes, I didn't love the Carter book because it is very detailed, and it's the words are very difficult. You have to read multiple times. So I understand your struggle, and I fully get it. So just hang in there with it, because I promise you guys that at some point you're going to look back in your academic career and say and see that you understand that in much greater detail. So just hang in there with me. Now, the next chapters 3 and 4, are a little bit easier to swallow. They talk more about communities and culture, and how systems theory addresses those issues. Also, later in the semester, I think near the end of the month, you guys have a systems theory essay due. I think it's 80 points, where you look at chapter 8 of the Carter book, where it talks about specific theories, and you pick one and decide which one you want to address in your essay. So I think it's very important that we kind of build the foundation here in chapters 1 and 2, so you kind of understand how those things interact. So I hope this was helpful. And be sure to reach out if you have questions or concerns, or just want to talk through this a little bit more. I'll be happy to do that, and address anything I can. So you guys have a good night. Take care.